Hello and welcome back to Katawa Shoujo. Last time we went on our first official date with Emmy, and Emmy was like, "This feels the same. I don't feel like anything's different." And we're like, "Well, it's gotta be different. We're a boyfriend-girlfriend now and we kiss, so that's the difference. That's the only difference between boyfriends and friends. You just kiss them." And she's like, "I guess so. Guess we better kiss on this day so that it counts." And they kissed. And then she limped and we were like, "Stop that." And she's like, "No." And that's pretty much what happened. The morning is far too early for my taste. It doesn't help that I had trouble sleeping last night. There were simply too many things to think about. My mind refused to slow down. Instead, I replayed the rooftop, the park, and everything else over and over in my mind. There's a small part of my mind that is still paranoid that this has all been some kind of joke, that I'll meet up with Emmy at the track and she'll act like nothing happened yesterday. Pushing these thoughts to the back of my mind, I throw on my running clothes and open the door. Emmy's waiting for me with her usual smile. "You're late. Or at least you're not early today. Are you tired or something?"
I find myself ruefully rubbing the back of my head. Something like that, yeah. Lots to think about and all that. Emmy giggles at my mild understatement.
"Yeah, I didn't sleep that well either. I was actually glad you weren't early because I wasn't early either."
I wonder if the same thing kept us awake. The image of her weeping face passes through my mind. What kept you up? Emmy's expression falters, but she quickly notices my curiosity and forces a smile.
"Nothing important."
She's obviously not telling me something. The question is, should I press the issue? Something has clearly been bothering her for a while. I want to help her, but wouldn't it just come off as me being nosy? She's gotta know I care about her, though. Are you sure? If something's bothering you, I'm here to help you sort it out. Emmy laughs then, but it's not her usual laugh. There's an edge to it that seems almost bitter.
"Sorted out? I'm not sure it can be sorted out, Hisao."
An almost grim smile crosses her lips. It's like a smile of resignation.
She's like, "Unless you can fucking bring my dad back from the dead, it can't be sorted out, you stupid bitch. I don't think you could help me anyway."
That hurts. I don't want to say that it hurts to her, but it does. Doesn't she realize I want to be there for her when things go wrong? Well, I won't push you on the matter. But I'm here for you if you decide later that you'd like to talk about it. It might help. I can see the debate raging behind Emmy's eyes. It seems like she wants to tell me, but she's not sure whether or not she can. Hey, forget about it for now, okay? We've got running to do. The mention of running, something that she can handle, brings Emmy back to her usual self.
"Right. Hurry up and stretch out, Hisao. We've got to get moving."
She takes off like a shot, far quicker than I'm used to. It's because she's trying to run away from her responsibilities. Still, I try to keep pace with her, recklessly testing my limits. It gives me a feeling of freedom, like my heart is no longer important. I find myself wanting to laugh, filled with the feeling of moving beyond what I once called my boundaries. The nurse's warnings to not overdo things echo in my mind, but I disregard them because I am a heathen. This feeling I have, this willingness to risk a heart attack for something so trivial as a morning run, feels out of character for me. What is it? Or rather, should it be? I've got a weak heart, sure, but it'll never be capable of the kind of speed and endurance Emmy's capable of, though I probably wouldn't be able to get that good even if I had a healthy heart. As we round the final bend, I feel my legs screaming in protest, but for the first time I ignore them. I accelerate to finish a sprint, nearly catching up to Emmy, but that was never going to happen, of course. Still, I feel surprisingly good. Oh, sure, my legs feel like they're about to catch fire, and I'm having trouble staying upright, but there's been a shift of some sort today. And it's all thanks to the girl grinning at me from the finish line, waiting for me. That felt a little faster than usual. My comment is met with a grin and a shrug.
"Can't have you think I was going to go soft on you now, can't I? But you managed to handle it just fine.
Well, I couldn't have done it without you. Still feeling the high from the run and moved by a surge of gratitude, I seize Emmy in a hug. Thanks.
Don't you fucking touch me. You're so sweaty and gross. Oh my god.
Really, I'm not just saying that. I'm in your debt. Emmy seems flustered by my words, squirming uncomfortably.
Don't be silly, Hisao. Someone had to haul you out here, didn't they? And it's not like you're not doing anything for me, right? I needed a running partner, remember?
I shake my head, still pointedly not letting go of Emmy, who stops squirming and merely looks up at me with a quickly deepening blush that almost seems out of character. No, that's not true. You wanted a running partner, but you didn't need one. If I hadn't shown up the day after the festival, you would still run, right? But it doesn't work the other way around. I only managed to make it out a few times before the festival. And without you, I probably wouldn't have made it out at all after that. Emmy smiles at me and prods my chest with one finger.
You are pretty lazy, Hisao.
Hey, I was giving you a compliment.
And I wasn't. What's the big deal? Well, you're welcome, I guess.
I'll pay you back somehow.
Oh, well, this is really awkward. That's not necessary, you know? I mean, I kinda like you, Hisao. And being able to run with you in the morning isn't exactly a bad deal for me either, so...
For someone who gets so much praise, she seems unused to the gratitude. I can't think of anything else to say, so we fall silent. I become aware of Emmy's breathing, of the dampness of her clothing, and of the scent of her. She smells like strawberries and B.O. Coming off of anyone else, it would stink. Coming off of Emmy, it fits her in a way nothing else could. Her skin is cool, slick with sweat, and a breeze causes goosebumps to rise. Almost without thinking about it, I lean down and meet Emmy's mouth, which has already moved to meet my own. Her lips are soft, and she hums happily as we kiss, sending vibrations from her mouth to mine. This is disgusting. You guys are so sweaty and nasty, and you're just like hugging and making out on the track. Have any sort of restraint. There's a startling rightness to everything about this moment. We fit one another perfectly. The kiss ends and I finally let my arms drop back to my sides. Emmy is smiling warmly at me and giggles again.
Come on, Hisao, we better go see the nurse.
Then it happens. As she turns to begin walking, she gives out a tiny yelp and stumbles forward. Emmy! I leap to steady her and notice with some concern that she's favoring the same leg as last night. Your leg. Emmy seems panicked and pushes away from me.
It's fine.
My expression must seem hurt because she hastens to apologize.
Sorry. I didn't mean to push you like that. I was just...
She stumbles for something to say.
It's nothing, really.
Hey, don't worry about it. She's so flustered, I decide to shrug the whole thing off. But there's a cold feeling in the pit of my stomach now that won't go away. I tried to step in to help her and she pushed me away. Smiling, I shove those thoughts to the back of my mind and concentrate on Emmy. I just don't want you getting hurt, that's all.
You don't have to worry about me, honest. I'm fine.
Yes, you say that, but I don't believe you since you literally just yelped in pain and toppled over. Why won't you tell me what's wrong? It's like she gets offended by my trying to help. What am I supposed to make of this? I'm still trying to sort out what happened on the track as we arrive in front of the nurse's office. Emmy raises her hand to knock, hesitates, and turns to me smiling guiltily.
Hey, can you do me a favor?
Of course.
Can you tell the nurse that I'll see him later? I just remembered that I've got some stuff to take care of before class. So I really need to get moving.
I peered her closely and she fidgets under my stare. Yeah, she's clearly just avoiding the nurse. That leg of hers. Well, whatever. I said I'd help, and so I will. But I'll make damn sure she sees the nurse before the day's out. Yeah, okay, I'll let him know. Emmy looks like I've just given her a pony on Christmas.
Thank you so much. You're the best, Hisao.
I am rewarded for my complicity in her lie by a kiss that makes it all worth it, or so I tell myself. Will she be giving those out for free? You don't need to be involved in her conspiratory lies. As Emmy heads out of the building, trying hard not to let her limp show, I knock on the door of the office. Ah, Hisao, come on in. I don't see Emmy with you. She's not sick again, is she? Tone of his voice, I don't think the nurse is expecting me to say yes, she's ill. She said that she'd forgotten to do something, and so she had to skip out, but she'll see you again later. She'll see you later today. The nurse heaves an exasperated sigh. Honestly, that girl. She's been avoiding me. Yesterday, she was in and out of here without even taking off her prosthetics, and now this. Well, at least it's not just me Emmy doesn't want worrying. That's a comfort, I guess. Still, I feel I should say something about her leg. I said I'd lie for her, but she really needs to see him. Now that you mention it, she was limping pretty badly today, and last night as well. The nurse's eyes narrow at the words last night. And what exactly were you two doing last night? We were, on a date. The nurse raises his eyebrow as if surprised. Really? Interesting. Huh? Oh, nothing. His gaze turns thoughtful, and then he grins at me. You didn't think you could use some of that boyfriend charm to get her to come see me today, could you? Of course! I was planning on doing that anyway. I think she's really hurt and just pretending she isn't. Yes, she does that. Afraid I'll make her stop running. Will you? I don't like to, but if it's bad enough that she's been limping, well, I guess I'll have to see what's wrong for myself before I make that call. I see. Emmy not allowed to run? Perish the thought. I don't know if she'd be able to function without running. No wonder she's reluctant to admit anything's wrong. Well, I'll make sure she sees you. Good. Oh, and before I forget. He grins at me again in what feels like a vaguely threatening manner. Don't forget that I know what medications you're on. You be careful around Emmy, got it? Wow, he looks serious too. Got it. Don't hurt Emmy, wouldn't dream of it. Grand. I'd hate for you to be late. Huh? Late as in the late Hisao Nakai. He frowns briefly, dissatisfied. It sounded better in my head. Well, at any rate. Better get out of here before you miss your first class. You got things to do, I'm sure. Shoo. As I leave, I notice the nurse pulling out his phone and dialing a number. Mako, your daughter's being a pain in the ass again. I better head back to my room, and I really will be late. Hey, wasn't he supposed to check my heart rate? Sorry, you guys got distracted, so he didn't have time. The lunch bell sounds, and I bring myself out of the stupor I slipped into during the morning classes. My lack of sleep last night, coupled with the increased pace of this morning's run, has left me a little exhausted. Despite that, I find myself skipping stairs up to the roof. There's a thrill of excitement now, in addition to the pleasure one gets from eating lunch with one's friends. True, both Emmy and Ren are still my friends, but Emmy has become more than that now. Ren is back in her usual spot on the roof, almost as if she'd never been absent. Feeling better, I take it? A raised eyebrow is my reward for speaking. Better than what? Better than you felt yesterday. Ren gives my question some serious thought. I'm not sure. I think I might have felt rather good for some of yesterday, but it's all fuzzy. Too much cold medicine? Well, I was asleep, and that usually is pretty good. But I can't remember what it feels like to be asleep because I'm not conscious for it. It's a real problem. Yeah. Then again, if I knew how good it felt, I might not sleep anymore. Wait, you might not? But this way I keep trying, so I guess that's how I keep from being overtired. An eternal mystery to keep you sleeping at night? Maybe mystery is the wrong word. Intangibility might be the proper way to describe it. I see. No, I don't see it all. I have no idea what she's talking about, but that's okay since I rarely do. Do you remember what sleeping feels like? Like yesterday? Do you remember what you felt like sleeping yesterday? Well, I actually didn't get a lot of sleep yesterday. Maybe that's because she remembers subconsciously. Actually, I think I was worrying about Emmy. Doesn't Emmy worry enough about herself? I hadn't considered that, but it gives me pause. True, but would she ask for help if she needed it? Rin frowns and I raise an eyebrow. Will I get a proper answer? Probably not. Is there something she should be asking for help with? Her leg, for starters. This seems to catch Rin's interest. Leg? She doesn't have a leg. It hurts. It's hurt, but she won't see the nurse about it. Rin shakes her head in disapproval. You have to make her. Like, she makes me go to class for her own good. Otherwise, she could lose her legs again, and that'd just be too weird. Losing things twice, especially if you don't find them again to begin with. Unless prosthetics are the same as finding something. But that's a different kind of lost, isn't it? I think so. Wonder.
Wonder what?
Emmy seems to have snuck up on Rin and me, though Rin doesn't seem especially surprised, which is itself unsurprising, I suppose. Rin manages to sit herself upright quite expertly, throwing her upper body forward and using her momentum to right herself. Your leg, how's it feel? That earns me a frown and a bit of a glare.
It's okay, I think. Not worth worrying about.
To tell that to the nurse. He's quite insistent that you visit him, you know. Emmy pouts that I've just told her she's been grounded.
He worries too much. It's not a big deal, just a little soreness.
I try to resist rolling my eyes in exasperation. If it's nothing, then you should have no problem seeing him, right? Emmy narrows her eyes suspiciously.
Did he put you up to this?
Well, maybe a little. But that's not the point. I would have reminded you to see him anyway. It would be terrible to see you really hurt and not doing anything about it. That would make it worse, and I don't really want to see you hurt, you know? Call me crazy, but I kinda would prefer to see you happy and healthy. That's pretty cringe, not gonna lie. With each statement, Emmy's frown fades a little more, until eventually she's grinning, albeit a little shyly.
Well, if you're going to put it that way, then I guess I'll have to see him. Otherwise, you'll keep worrying, and then I'll never hear the end of it, right?
That's right, I'll keep bugging you about it, and that might put a damper on our dates. How's the food, Hisao? Talk to the nurse, Emmy? How was your day, Hisao? Talk to the nurse, Emmy? Hisao, I think I'm ready to go all the way. Talk to the nurse, Emmy? See, it doesn't work that well. Emmy giggles at my high-pitched rendition of her own voice and gives me an affectionate shove.
My voice isn't that high, jerk.
I thought it was pretty accurate. Damn. Emmy and I stare at Ren for a while before I burst onto laughter. Emmy crosses her arms and huffs, mock offended.
You're both jerks.
Such vile calumnies from you, young woman. I'm stunned that you would call me, of all people, a jerk. Honestly, I don't know what to think. Emmy sticks her tongue out at me.
You ass. So Rin, how's art club these days?
Rin, seemingly as surprised by the sudden change of topic as I am, takes a minute to think before answering. I believe it is okay. Although Nomiya keeps telling me to work harder. But I don't think he understands my methods.
He always struck me as slightly creepy.
Rin ponders his statement for a while. I've never really noticed. But I don't pay much attention to him most days, so maybe that's why. How often do you meet?
Thinking of joining, Hisao?
What? Nah, I've already decided to join a club.
Really? Which one?
Well, it's not really much of a club, to be honest.
Oh, you joined the tea club?
No, I joined the science club, I think. Emmy looks highly confused.
We have a science club?
Not really, it's just me.
Hisao, that's not a club. That's sitting in your room reading books.
No, I mean, it's just me and Muto. I'm just the only student so far.
Muto? Really?
A thought strikes her.
Oh, is that what you were talking about yesterday? Your meeting with Muto?
Yeah, that was our first meeting, I guess. Emmy giggles.
Nerd.
Hey, I can't help being clever.
You know, I could have used your help years ago. You should have had a heart attack earlier in life, Hisao.
I laugh and then realize this is probably one of the very rare times I've laughed about my heart attack. Hindsight.
Yeah.
The ringing of the bell ends our conversation. Guess we better go.
Yeah, I guess so. Come on, Rin. You too.
Rin has apparently begun to doze off, so Emmy gives her a sharp bump. I almost had it.
Sorry, but you need to go to class.
I disagree, but maybe if I nap in class I'll get it this time. Changing location is sometimes helpful for that kind of thing. Neither Emmy or I bother asking what it is. As we arrive at my classroom, Emmy gives me a quick kiss and heads down the hallway, Rin in tow. I turn to enter the classroom to be met by the duo Shizune and Misha. Misha seems to be fighting a losing battle to keep from breaking into a fit of giggles while she translates Shizune's latest rant.
Well, we are pleased, nay, thrilled, to see how well you've managed to make new friends and forge relationships, and with such a cutie too, Hee-chan.
I think that last part was probably Misha.
We nevertheless feel compelled to politely remind you that public displays of affection are strictly forbidden. Really? That's disappointing, Shi-chan. By Section 8 of the Code of Conduct laid out in the student handbook. In this case, however, ignorance of the law may be your excuse, as we are feeling lenient. And the paperwork required to punish the both of you would only add to the already mountainous volume of work which confronts us, the sole members of the student council, and besides, you two are adorable together. Therefore, consider this a formal warning, and please refrain from such displays in the future, at least when Shi-chan can see you, Hee-chan.
This whole spiel is so patently ridiculous that I can't help but reply in the same pompous manner. Well, I, for one, feel enlightened. I apologize profusely for my rash actions and will strive to contain my baser impulses which, I fear, impel me towards such inappropriate displays of public affection. It is hardly my wish to burden an already overworked student council with such petty matters, and will do my best to make your lives easier in this matter in the future. At least when Shizune is watching. That last line is delivered with a wink to Misha, who finally loses control of her laughter.
Close said, Hee-chan.
Chuckling a little myself, we enter the classroom. Class is uneventful, and after the final bell rings, I find myself alone with Muto again. So, it looks like we've all assembled for the second meeting of the science club. Or is it the first? What do you think? Should we count yesterday as a meeting? Well, we did form the club yesterday, didn't we? That seems like club business, so we can safely call yesterday's a meeting. Muto smiles in his usual stilted and awkward way. I wonder if the muscles in his face are not shaped correctly to let him smile naturally. We really do have a knack for this, I think. Logic thought processes, that is. I guess so? A scientist speaks with authority, Hisao. The answer is, yes, I do. When the world wants to know how it works, we tell it, even if all we've got is a decent hypothesis. But we must sound certain anyway, because we're the authorities on the subject, right? He chuckles to go along with his awkward smile at his awkward joke. I'm doing my best not to grimace, but I think I'm being too successful. That's entirely false, of course. We know a lot, sure, but nobody's an expert on how the world works, if only because nobody can be sure. With no certainty, there are no experts. But we like to pretend sometimes. There's some things we can be certain of, right? Yes, but no. We know gravity's there, for example. To illustrate, Muto picks up a pencil and drops it.
left wage.
See? Still there. But it's good to check every once in a while. That's why you'll still see researchers mucking about with gravity. We're pretty sure we know how it works, but there's always a chance that something isn't how we think it is. So you check and check and check. That's science in a nutshell, Hisao. The whole time I've listened feeling rather spellbound, Muto seems to be really passionate about this stuff. I think. It's hard to tell sometimes. How the world works. How humans work. How the universe works. All these questions to be answered. And depending on what I go into, maybe I can even figure out a way to fix my heart. That said, I don't think that's a real priority for me. Besides, as we start discussing the book he gave me yesterday, I found myself more and more interested in that than my heart condition. Before we even realize it, an hour's gone by. Well, let's call this meeting over for now, okay? We'll have another meeting tomorrow or day after. Hey, consider this for a moment. Call it the day after. I've got a lot of grading to do. Okay, see you then. We just become bros with our teacher. As I exit the classroom, I realize that I don't really have anything to do tonight. Emmy and I didn't make plans, so I guess I'll go to the library. It beats doing homework in my room anyway. The library always seems cooler than the rest of the building. Probably to keep the books from getting damaged by excessive heat and humidity. Books are sturdy objects, but if you want to keep them in good condition, it takes a little effort. I've got several books that are so well worn the pages are barely clinging to the spine. It seems impossible for them to still be usable, but if you handle them with care... I make my way to the main desk, where I spot Yuko busying herself with something or another. She smiles at me as I enter and wave.
Hello, Hisao. Good to see you again. What are you looking for this time?
Nothing in particular, I guess. I just didn't really feel like going back to my room is all. Yuko nods.
Well, if you're unoccupied, maybe you could help me look for something.
Sure. What do you need? That cryptography book or whatever. Yuko brings a finger to her lips and looks around furtively. She seems to be looking for eavesdroppers.
Come closer.
I take a few hesitant steps forward while being distinctly unnerved. Yuko lowers her voice to a confidential whisper.
I'm on the trail of the Yomaku cat burglar.
The what?
Shh! The walls have ears, Hisao. Or they might. But listen, those missing books, remember them?
Yeah?
Well, they weren't missing. They were stolen. I'm convinced of it.
I remember you saying something of the sort earlier, but how do you know? Yuko leans in closer and, if possible, whispers even lower.
Because I found one of his hiding places.
You did what? Yuko looks triumphant.
Found one of his stashes. It was under one of the stairwells in the boys' dorm. 3 books I've been looking for, all there. I'd suspected a thief before, but this proves it.
So did you take the books back? Yuko looks as if I've just suggested she walked around naked.
Are you nuts? He can't know I'm onto him. He might go to ground and evade capture.
Huh. So what do you need my help with then? Yuko casts another glance around the library and leans in closer.
You've got a spy for me.
Spy?
Yeah, like when you're in the dorms, you know? Keep an eye out for any suspicious activity.
What constitutes suspicious anyway? It's definitely Kenji. I mean, Kenji's a pretty suspicious dude, but I'll wager he barely goes to class, much less sneaks into the library to pilfer books. Oh, he definitely pilfers books. I'm pretty sure we already have, seen him do that. Still, what's the harm in saying yes? At least it'll get me out of this weird conversation. Yeah, I can do that, no problem. Yuko straightens up and claps excitedly.
Great! Now hurry up and talk about something else in case someone comes in. How's the school treating you?
Pretty well, actually. I've been running in the mornings with...
Emi Ibarazaki, right?
Yeah. How'd you know?
I observed you two in the tea house, remember? I deduced that if you were going to run with anyone, it would probably be her.
She looks pleased with herself. Impressive. Anyway, yes, we've been running in the mornings. And we kind of started dating. Yuko claps her hands together. Her hams!
Really? That's great. I'll bet you two are great together. I love seeing people find one another like that, you know? I even thought to myself when you walked into the Shanghai that one time, I wonder if that kid will wind up with one of those girls.
Really? He does. He winds up with every girl. Yuko doesn't seem to notice my somewhat weirded out tone and nods affirmatively.
Yep, I could tell you'd wind up with one of them, you know? I wrote this novel. I've got an eye for that sort of thing. Of course.
Her expression droops slightly.
I'm not so good at it myself.
Ah, I'm sure that's not true.
Oh, it's true. I met this guy once. We got along really great, but it turned out he was younger than me. And it was kind of weird, but not terribly so. What was really weird was that he disappeared one day, and I've not seen him since then.
Huh. That does seem kind of odd.
Doesn't it? I hope it wasn't something I did.
I feel compelled to reassure her. I'm sure it wasn't. I intended to try and calm her down further, but the both of us jump in surprise at the ringing suddenly coming from my pocket. Yuko sighs to steady herself as I pull the phone from my pocket. I feel a little sheepish for indirectly causing the incident. Emmy, what's up?
Oh, thank God, I haven't called your phone before, so I didn't know if this number would work or whether you would pick up, and I can't. Whoa there, Amy, slow down.
What's wrong? There's a pause on the other side of the line, during which I can hear Emmy trying to control her breathing in order to calm down. Something's got her terribly agitated, and it's starting to agitate me.
Can you stop by? Like now, or shortly after now? I really need to talk to you.
There's a tone of pleading in the last sentence that I don't think I've ever heard from her. Of course, I'll be right there. Hold steady, okay? In my increasingly agitated state, I've apparently started saying things that don't quite make sense.
Okay, I'll be okay.
See you soon. I pressed the button to end the call before slipping the phone back into my pocket. Apologized to Yuko for running off and run off. Perhaps at some point I would have stopped to think about the time, or how suspicious it looks for a guy to enter the girls' dorm at this hour. Except right now I'm not concerned with getting to Emmy, and I'm just concerned with getting to Emmy and finding out what's wrong and how I can help her. I knock on her door and am greeted with a subdued "come in." Something is very wrong as I stare at the scene before me. Emmy's there, yes, but she's in a wheelchair, and her legs are missing. I glance around the room and see them sitting in a corner, looking like they've been thrown there. Emmy's responds to my entrance with a lopsided grin that is both pleased to see me and completely utterly heartbroken.
Hi, Hisa.
It looks like she's been crying, but if she was, she's stopped now. I notice that I'm a little out of breath, having taken the stairs 2 at a time in order to get here. My heart doesn't seem to mind the strain, though. I file this happy fact away for later consideration, like when I'm not staring somewhat dumbstruck at my girlfriend in a wheelchair. Realizing I've still not responded to her greeting, my brain lurches into gear. Emmy, what happened?
Guess I should have listened to you, Hisao. My leg's got a nasty infection. I'm not allowed to run on it for at least a couple of weeks.
She gives a bitter laugh that shouldn't be coming from her.
Heh, I can't even walk on it. I could have used a crutch and kept one of my legs, but I didn't see the point. Why hop? You can't run on one leg. At least this way I can still, I don't know, roll fast or something.
Yeah, that's good, right? My awkward attempt to look on the bright side seems appreciated, but not really effective. Emmy shrugs again.
It's just kind of a nuisance. I mean, we can't even eat up on the roof now. No wheelchair access.
Yeah, but that's not a big deal, right? I mean, we can still eat together, and that's the important thing. That lopsided grin again. It hurts to look at.
I suppose so, yeah. But like I said, it's a nuisance. I mean, I haven't really used a wheelchair in...
She thinks for a minute.
Maybe 7 years, something like that anyway. A long time. I'm afraid I'm a bit out of practice.
Well, fortunately, it's only temporary, right? Emmy nods.
Oh yeah, of course. It's not like I've lost him permanently. But it's a pain in the ass all the time, all the same.
I nod sympathetically. There's not much else I can do, after all. What am I gonna do? Say I told you so? Although I did tell her to get that leg looked at, but by the time I noticed, it was too late anyway. Do you need help with anything? That is, can I help with anything? Emmy shakes her head, and there's a bit of her usual grin back.
Nah, I can manage fine by myself. Although, if you want to help me over to my bed, it would save me the trouble of rolling over there myself.
I blush in spite of myself. Emmy giggles.
You're such a prude, Hisao.
I'm not a prude, I just wouldn't want to take advantage of a young woman such as yourself. It's ungentlemanly. I wheel Emmy's chair to her bed and easily scoop her up and deposit her there. She quickly sorts herself out and sits on the side. She's actually a little heavier than she looks. It would be rude of me to observe this aloud, of course. Man, you're kind of heavy, so of course I do the rude thing because that's who I am. I'm Hisao, the rudest motherfucker I've ever encountered. Smack. Emmy hits me with a pillow.
Ass.
Just saying is all. Must be all that running. At the mention of running, Emmy's grin falters slightly.
Well, I guess I won't have to worry about that for a bit, huh? Maybe I'll lose some weight.
That's what you do to lose weight, right? Cease physical activity?
I'm pretty sure that's what the nurse would recommend.
Speaking of which, are you going to still be showing up in the mornings? I'd hate to run alone.
Ah, shit.
Emmy's sudden interjection, more a disquieted muttering than anything too profane, causes me to look over in shock. She's leaning forward, trying to cover the fact that she's crying by covering her eyes with a hand. Of course, the subdued sobbing makes it pretty obvious that she's crying. Hey, I'm sorry. Forget I said anything, okay? I place a hand gingerly around her and pull her close. I can think of nothing else to say or do. How do you comfort someone who's just lost their legs again? Emmy wraps me in a hug and stays that way for a while. Sorry. Pretty bad at this whole comforting thing, I guess.
Don't say that. I'm fine, really.
Her voice is slightly muffled by my chest. I pat her head reassuringly. That's the spirit, right? You'll get through this fine, I know it. Besides, I'm here to help you, remember? Emmy lifts her head and stares at me with tear-stained eyes.
Can you? Can you really?
She's grinning lopsidedly and something sparkles in her gaze. I can't tell if I'm being mocked or not. Of course, I mean, sure, you're a bit heavy, but... My witty comment is cut off by the sudden press of Emmy's lips on mine. I'm caught off guard and am rewarded by hitting my head on the wall behind her bed. Ow. Emmy pulls back, trying to look concerned rather than like she's about to laugh.
Are you okay? Sorry.
I rub my head ruefully and grin back at her. Caught me off guard there. Is that going to become a habit? Am I going to be lectured by Shizune and Misha more? At the mention of the duo, Emmy giggles.
Honestly, those two. If I didn't know why, I'd be utterly confused as to why she hangs around with someone so bossy.
Which one are we talking about?
You know exactly which one, Hisao. Misha's hardly bossy.
So what's the reason then?
Huh?
The reason why Misha hangs around Shizune? Emmy waves my question off with a smile.
No idea.
Yes, you do. You said you knew the reason why. Everyone knows why now.
But you're lying. Anyway, you seem to be forgetting the original question, don't you?
Oh yeah, I guess I am. You wouldn't mind giving a guy a little warning, would you? Otherwise I'm liable to wind up with a concussion. I emphasize the point by rubbing the back of my head. Emmy giggles madly.
You could wear a helmet. Some kids here do, you know.
Or I could just take revenge. I grab a pillow from behind me and whack Emmy over the head. Smack. Emmy topples off the bed and lands on the floor with a thump. Her arms promptly reappear on the bed and she manages to pull herself back up. She really has a surprising amount of strength in that little body. Her face is turned downwards away from mine, making me think I might have accidentally hurt her. Emmy, you okay? I didn't hurt. A hand shoots up to grab my collar, and she pulls me in with a sharp tug, her face now barely an inch away from mine as she grins cheekily. Emmy? She just headbutted me. She gives me a sharp headbutt, and our foreheads make quite a loud thud. I sit back and rub my now sore head as Emmy smirks victoriously.
How's that for revenge?
No fair! You can't take revenge for revenge. Sure you can. That's how wars are made. For someone missing most of her legs, Emmy's surprisingly agile. I swipe at her, but she deftly rolls out of the way and lands a hit with her pillow. Of course, the odds are against her. I can stand up for starters. Oof. Uh-oh. I don't like where this is going. Wee woo. Wee woo. Wee woo. I'm in danger. Guess I can't. After all, Emmy seems to have effectively tripped me up and is now sitting primely astride me as I lay on my back. I'm not even sure how she managed it. This is foreshadowing? Foreshadowing?
I win.
Her eyes twinkle mischievously. I've been thoroughly defeated, and by a girl that's a fraction of my size at that. Then again, being defeated doesn't seem quite so bad. Emmy being positioned over my waist isn't something that I, or my body, can ignore easily. I open my lips to speak, but Emmy's head darts downwards before I can get so much as a word out. I give no resistance as she presses her mouth to mine. Not that I'd want to. This is different somehow. It's almost like she's sitting directly on my pee-pee. It's making me feel weird. She pulls back, nips at my lower lip, and reinitiates the embrace. Her tongue darts inside my mouth, exploring. Just having a field day. A little adventure, if you will. I can feel the warmth spreading throughout my body as my heart begins to beat faster. My mind starts to go foggy, and I become vaguely aware of my hand traveling up Emmy's blouse. Emmy gasps as I reach her breast, and there's a giggle, and then I stare up at a grinning Emmy.
Told you. That makes my second wing now.
What? That doesn't count. You used feminine wiles.
All's fair in love and war, right? Ha! And you're even blushing. I didn't know you were a blusher, Hisao.
He's a shower. You were blushing too, you know. Probably because of your prudish ways. Even I've got to admit this is a stupid thing to say to a woman who is currently straddling me and has been up until a few seconds ago playing tonsil hockey with me. What a foul sentence. You said tonsil hockey. That is disgusting.
A prude, am I? Well then let's see who blushes first, shall we?
Are we playing a fire truck? I'm not sure whether the tone of her voice terrifies or arouses me. Uh-oh. Your kinks are showing. You should go run and get those out. But that question is quickly made rather moot. Whoa, okay. Hi! Didn't know we were just... Didn't know. I mean, I knew, but like, that was fast. Just zip, zop, zip. Bye, clothes. In a motion of practiced ease, she peels her blouse off and tosses it carelessly aside. Her bra and skirt quickly follow it onto the floor. Ha! Quite the urge to blush. It's a rather hard task. Escalation is. My own shirt follows suit, albeit with some difficulty thanks to my position. Emmy mock yawns.
You'll have to try harder than that. Ah!
My hands gently caress Emmy's bare skin, causing her to shiver. It would seem that my hands are acting on their own again. If our position had let me, I'd probably have finished her undressing for her. I start to say something about how Emmy's starting to blush, but both of us are very rapidly reaching the edge of something very barely holding us back. Conversation grinds to a halt, and I feel my arms losing energy. Neither of us, however, is prepared for this sudden new sensation. I don't like that face you're making, ma'am. An indescribable heat surges through me, coming from both myself and it seems Emmy as well. With one hand on my chest to steady herself, and another holding mine to make sure that I can't have my way with her body again, she looks quite pleased with herself. And then after a moment's hesitation, she moves. And she moves again, and again. As she moves, Emmy's breath hitches. My breathing is starting to come faster and more raggedly as well. What happened? They're not doing the sex. Are they just dry humping? Is that what's happening here? Is that what's happening? Shudders against mine, and I can feel her starting to lose her balance. It must be harder for her to keep steady because she's missing her legs. I steady her best I can, cupping my hands around her backside. It's firm and taut. Makes sense considering how much she runs. The potential power of those muscles makes them flex as she responds to my touch. When I fail to take into account is the fact that my attempt to steady Emmy kind of slides her forward as well. It feels amazing. They're not even doing anything. Yeah, they're just literally rubbing up against each other. They're still clothed. Well, they're like, she's wearing undies and he's full wearing pants. See, her panties easily slide against my trousers, and it doesn't take us long to figure out a rhythm. They're just rubbing up against each other. What the fuck is going on? That's not sweat, sir. They just astound me. They just be out here voyeurs as fuck on the first floor, like right in front of the window doing this. Ain't y'all got at least put a curtain or something? Go on the floor, like, and on top of that, the window is open. Like wind is coming in her room on the first floor, and there's no curtains. What the fuck? This motherfucker just straight up camed in his pants. Like, hello? And then it passes. The white noise clears, and I am left staring up into the eyes of the girl atop me. For a few minutes, neither of us speaks. The sound of our breathing fills the room, our chests heaving from the experience. She eventually, reluctantly, shifts off of me and sits against the wall. I join her.
So, did I blush?
I didn't notice. Did I? Emmy shrugs, still breathing a little heavily.
Didn't notice either.
Well, maybe we should... Hi, Rin! I need to use your window. My first instinct is to hide, but then I realize that I'm still utterly exhausted and sitting next to a topless Emmy, so there's no running away. Rin's eyes pass over Emmy and me and focus on the window. There was a cloud.
A cloud?
Rin nods. I was watching it from my window, but it didn't stay in my window. So I need to use your window. Emmy shifts a little, causing me to cough in order to cover up a giggle of my own.
How long do you need the window for? We're, busy.
This time I can't contain my laughter. Rin ignores both Emmy and me and peers out the window. Her shoulders slump and she looks disappointed. It changed into something else. Disappointing. Emmy is having trouble keeping a straight face.
It's hard to hear that, Ren. Could we have a little privacy now, please?
I love Rin. Rin is the best character in this whole fucking game. I dare someone to fight me on it. You're just wrong. Rin shrugs as if to say, can you? And hooks her foot around the door, pulling it closed behind her. We both dissolve into raucous laughter, unable to deal with Rin's bizarrely timed visit any other way. After our laughter dies down, I look to Emmy. We're both a total mess. Well, Emmy raises an eyebrow.
Well?
Again? Emmy grins and laughs, and then she nods.
We should probably ditch the clothes this time.
Oh. We just implied, I guess? Interesting. He's like, yeah, I mean, jizzing in my pants was pretty pog, but what if I didn't? Good Lord have mercy. Alright, well, I wasn't expecting that one. I mean, I thought it was gonna, fall off, but I suppose we're in Act 3. Who knows what'll happen? We've already done done the sex thing like twice. We just were like, I guess Rin is here now. She's like, "Hey yo, I need that window," and they're like, "We're actually naked right now." She's like, "I really don't give a shit. I need to see that cloud. You guys can do what you're doing. I won't bother you." Uh, anyway, so I guess we are now we have consummated our relationship with Emmy, and she has an infection in her leg, which apparently got us very aroused. It's because we started fucking or dry humping in front of the window. I told you that window was way too open. Of course somebody was gonna jump in. But that happened, and I will see everyone in the next video.